In the heart of a forgotten land where mountains stood like ancient guardians and rivers ran thin and slow, there lived a girl named Leah, whose voice was quiet, but whose heart thundered like a storm from the moment she could walk. She had known struggle. Her home was built of broken wood, her days filled with fetching water, and her nights filled with the sound of wind blowing through cracked walls. The village where she lived had no lights, no school, no doctor, and no hope. The people spoke in whispers and worked in silence, and each day passed like the one before. It gray and without change. Leah, however, was not like the others. She would stare at the sky and wonder what lay beyond the hills. She would collect stones and arrange them in patterns like maps, and she would listen to the wind and pretend it carried stories from far away. While the others accepted the world as it was, Leah believed the world could be changed, not with power or riches, but with belief and effort. She had no books, no teacher, no guide, but she had questions and she had the fire of curiosity. One day, while exploring a dry ravine, she found a torn page from a book. It was wet and faded, but she could make out a picture of a machine with spinning wheels, and beside it words. She could barely read something about invention and light. She held the page like a treasure and ran home, her feet blistered, her hands trembling. She hid it beneath her pillow, and each night she would take it out and stare at it, hoping to understand more and more until the image was burned into her memory. Months passed, and Leah began gathering scraps of metal glass and wood from the village dump. She was laughed at by the elders, scolded by her aunt, with whom she lived, and ignored by the children who thought she was strange. But she kept collecting, kept building strange shapes in the dirt, bending wires, tying pieces with string. Most of her early creations fell apart or caught fire or did nothing at all. But she did not stop. Each failure taught her something. Each broken piece brought her closer to understanding. One morning, after a long night of work, she created something small, a box with a crank, and when she turned it, a faint light glowed from a tiny bulb. Her heart raced. Her hands shook. She had made something that worked, something that gave light in a world of darkness. She ran to her aunt to show her. But the old woman slapped the box from her hand and said, "Enough with your games, you are wasting time. You should be working, not dreaming." But Leah did not cry. She picked up the broken pieces and rebuilt it again, and this time made it better soon. Whispers began to spread through the village. The strange girl with the fire in her eyes had created light without fire. Some called it magic, others called it nonsense, but curiosity grew. Children followed her to her workshop, a shed made from broken planks and covered in cloth. They watched as she turned trash into tools, rust into light. One of the boys dared to ask her, "How do you do it?" And she answered softly, "I keep trying." A traveler passed through the village and heard the rumors. He was an old man with a worn coat and tired eyes. But when he saw the machine, he stopped breathing for a moment. He asked Leah, "Where did you learn this?" And she said, "From a picture and trying." He nodded slowly and asked if he could help. He was once an engineer, he said, and he had not seen such pure invention in years. From that day he began to teach her, not with books, but with stories, drawings, and experiments. They built together. They failed together. They learned together. After a year, the shed became a lab filled with strange devices, lights, fans, radios, small water pumps powered by the sun. The village began to change. People who once scoffed now asked for help. Leah fixed broken tools, built lamps for homes, taught children how to create and think, and imagine. The old engineer left one day with tears in his eyes and said, "You have become more than a student. You are a builder of future's news, spread beyond the hills." Men and women from other lands came to see the girl who made light from waste. Some offered her scholarships. Others wanted to buy her designs, but she refused to leave, not yet. "My village needs me," she said. "I have more to build." She began to design a school where no child would be too poor to learn, where learning would be free like wind and light. She built it with her own hands, with help from those she had once inspired. Years passed, and the village no longer looked the same. Lights glowed from homes, water flowed through pipes. Children spoke of science and stories. Leah, now a young woman, stood before a crowd and spoke not with fear, but with strength. She said, "The world does not change when we wait for others. It changes when we decide that even in silence, even in darkness, even when alone, we can be the spark."